But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
So, and I said, well, what if it does happen? And he says, well, price will solve everything. I said, thanks, give me the gold. You know?
Why do central banks hold it? Well, it's a form of reserves. So why don't they hold diamonds? Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
Tailspin, and the president came in and had to fix that because obviously the last administration did not have a comprehensive plan, and so we had to come in and do that. So what the president has done to make sure that the economy gets back on its feet, and gas by $1.77 since its peak. Remember, Putin's war caused gas prices to go up.
Catherine,
and
you said a lot of nonsense accompanied with persuasive hand gestures to appear credible. So let's go through this one by one. 90% of the jobs that Biden created were jobs recovered from the pandemic. The economy is not even close to where it was under Trump. Gas prices rose before the Ukraine war, thanks to Biden restricting domestic energy production. Then y'all went on a Putin price hike to mislead the people. So Biden didn't fix anything, and I'm glad this is not a White House press conference, and you can't just get away with the bullshit you just spewed.
Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. The beginning of that video was cut out just because I didn't have the sound on for it. She's talking about the economy. And, of course, it's the same old BS, the same propaganda that she spews every day at the podium. But glad to have all my familiar friends and faces here in the Junius Maltby chat. Again, we are live right now, unscripted, the extemporaneous ramblings of a madman. And you're broadcasting here with the most boring channel on YouTube. So contribute something positive there or negative. I don't really care in the chat. Give me some of your ideas, some of your observations. We'll talk about gold. I got some other charts pulled up, information, some other data points, some charts and things, all kinds of little stuff today we'll look at. There was a funny comment I saw in the beginning, and it's, I don't know if the guy was being joking or, he's obviously a channel member. Clock Fixer 1964 says, as it's tanking. Define tanking, because the peak, it sold off a little bit. I mean, it blasted past $2,000 an ounce. If you go back to a 5-year chart, it's nothing but up. Video after video on this channel, we can point to the charts. Gold is essentially on a multi-decade bull run, probably just beginning. The dollar's direction we'll talk about in a moment. We have I've got a tab pulled up from an article from J.P. Morgan on whether or not the dollar is going to be strong again. They wrote that a year ago, and it turned out it didn't. The ultimate measurement of the dollar strength to me is how much gold can a dollar acquire if you sell that dollar, and all that does forever is eternally weaken. I don't think we're going back. We're not going back. We're not going to get to a point where suddenly things turn around, they change the dynamics and the fundamentals of the economy, and suddenly America becomes more productive and the dollar becomes stronger and gold drops in price. And they contain the currency supply out there. They bring it all back in. They pay off the $35 trillion in debt, or the quadrillions of whatever it is now with all the derivatives and all the other obligations. They can bring the deficits under control. It's never going to happen. I mean, these are beyond even dreams. It's not even a grasp of reality. There is no way they get it back. Rolf Steiner, good to see you in the chat. No, Ukraine is not winning. They've been utterly and entirely defeated and forgotten. The West is completely ashamed and embarrassed. Same with Ukraine. Nothing worked. Even the Abrams tanks, their filters are clogging with mud and dirt and sand, and they need to be cleaned and maintained, which isn't happening. It's complete and total victory by the Zapad West, the Z-Boys. And that's irrefutable. That's history will write that. That's what's going to be in the history books. That's the reality. That's our assessment from day one on just that topic has been on point. But, you get these, your typical average NPC, right? They absorb only what the media tells them. So you can't really blame them for being so stupid. They're managing their fantasy football team. They're not really paying that much attention. They're staggering through life in a zombie-like state. They're high-functioning zombies. We'll give them that. Most people are at a high-functioning zombie state. They're not just eating flesh and staggering around, staring at things like in World War Z or whatever that, they're not like your Hollywood zombies. All right? These ones can actually articulate speech. They can ambulate somewhat normal. They can typically feed and clothe themselves a little bit. They can communicate. They can even, some of them even make eye contact. But let's take a look at some things here. I got a couple of brief headlines pulled up. I didn't really go into today thinking, I'm going to make a video on this gloomy, rainy, windy winter day, but I figured, why not? It's a blustery day. I've made some tea. Mrs. Maltby's taking a nap. We're on the brink of some significant news. A lot of things are happening. I do want to talk about some crypto stuff if you guys have a moment. Oh my God, don't, Junius, don't talk about it. Look, it's part of the news cycle. It's part of the stuff that's going on out there in the background. We got to talk about it. And believe it or not, you've got some common enemies, my friend. You've got some common enemies with these people. You do. So that's why this article's pulled up. Jamie Dimon, this guy hates gold, hates crypto, lashes out at both. I need you to pay attention to that. The enemies of our enemies are our friends typically. And there's a lot of enemies of gold that are also enemies of the blockchain world and crypto world. And this has been popping up lately because I want to show you a couple of enemies of yours that you would agree with. Jamie Dimon lashes out against crypto recently. If I was the government, I'd close it down. This is a guy who relies on government protection, government bailouts, right? I mean, think of the relationship that Jamie Dimon has with the government. Think of that for a moment. He doesn't want the competition. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like seeing market cap. He doesn't want to share it. He doesn't like seeing it flow into there. Because if anyone's been paying attention, it has been unbelievable lately for those blockchain boys. The blockchain boys out there. I mean, it's been what did I read? I think it was 10,000% increase in volume on Coinbase alone. All right? You've got significant changes taking place with, I think Bitcoin in just the last 3 months is up 65%. Meanwhile, Wall Street's been hemorrhaging money. Every fund, index, and equity is in the red. They're just dying. They're dwindling. They're being destroyed, right? They look at these charts with absolute hatred and jealousy with gold and Bitcoin. They hate it. They're dependent on the dollar. These people are tied to it. Jamie Dimon is a dollar simp. The guy loves the dollar. He worships at the altar of the dollar. The Treasury and the Fed. They're all one big family. In just a month alone, Bitcoin's up 24%, among with all the other coins. A lot of other ones are up. ETH's been doing pretty good and stuff like that. But again, there's articles out there talking about why this is, what's happening, and it's pointing to and exposing dollar weakness. These are rare, finite codes. I don't want this to fall into an ideology debate. Okay, I know that some of you have problems with crypto, but please be mature enough to engage in a conversation regarding it without getting super hyper emotional and flipping out. Look, I was there once 15 years ago. I used to be that guy. I remember, to my own detriment and regret, I remember sitting there live on a computer screen, live, but not on the Junior Smallpy channel. I was just sitting there live by myself, sitting on a bed with a laptop. And I was watching a screen as Mt. Gox was crashing. I don't know if I've told you guys this story. I probably have. I'm watching it crash. I'm watching Bitcoin go from like $3 to $1 to 50 cents to 25 cents. I watched it hit a penny and then it bounced back up to I think it settled around 45, 48, 49 cents in that range. And I'm watching it live. Bitcoin fall to a penny. All right? So you cannot argue with me that probably my single greatest mistake on this planet, financially speaking, investment acumen wise, I should have just taken a gamble and thrown $1 at it and had 100 Bitcoin for $1. I mean, come on now, guys. Is there any part of you that would have regretted that or thought that was a poor decision? Look, it's rare. I believe at this point there's only 7 million being traded openly on the exchanges. Or is it 7,000? 7 million. 7 million, I think it is. I don't pay too much attention to those numbers, but there's a lot of it lost, a lot of it gone. The point of this is the government's lashing out at it. You'll see that in a moment. We're going to bring that up too. I want to start here. You've got Jamie Dimon lashing out at its peers, suggesting in remarks at Capitol Hill that they should be banned. We need to ban it. Look, anytime the government wants to ban something, I'm going to tell you this right now and you pay attention close. Anytime the government wants to straight up ban something with vitriolic screams and hand gesticulations and faces like this, representing institutions like this, anytime you see that, get it. That's my point. Look, I don't have any. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be 100% honest disclosure with you. I hold 0 Bitcoin. 0. Nada. Zip. Nil. Zil. My point is, though, question when the government wants to ban something, when they hate something, when they're trying to sue something, corner something, when they're attacking something. Just like AR-15s and AK-47s, right? And same with gold. Anything that offers you some type of a challenge to their authority, that challenges their existence, threatens their monopolies and their power, you need to take probably a position. Like, look, even if you don't like firearms, own some. Expose yourself to some. You might need one day. It might be nice. You might, it's like, I don't know, fire insurance. You hope you don't have to use it, but you might want to have it. Or that fire extinguisher under your sink. Or that first aid kit in the back of your car, just in case you come upon someone hemorrhaging on the side of the highways or the byways. Or you yourself cut yourself while opening a block of cheese. I don't know, but have those things in place just in case. You're only as prepared as you are right now. But all I can tell you is the government hates these things for a reason. And that's what I question. The NPCs, their opinion, their assessment, it doesn't matter. I don't care what they think. Some of them have staggered into crypto. That's fine. But there's something else going on. And I've talked about this in the past, early on, when it first came out and we saw, I mean, you're talking 2010, 2009, when we were having these discussions. The same individuals that you see on the screens now attacking, feeling threatened, and coming out against it, they've been doing it the whole time. The funny thing about JP Morgan is, while Jamie Dimon's out there preaching and hating it, he's also, his company, they're taking positions in it for some reason. These rare codes of whatever, for whatever reason. And they don't have any, they're not informed, they don't know anything about it. They're the things that they say, like they're trying to appeal to your typical Karen, your typical, goofball, high-functioning zombie female, when they say things like, the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, money laundering, and tax avoidance. That's complete bullshit. I mean, we've known that for years now. There are absolutely legitimate transactions for it. I follow this news cycle. I don't report on it all the time. There's entire countries and districts and cities and towns and goods and services all around the world in every single corner of the globe where this is used exactly like a digital coin. Just like if you were to swipe your credit card, your debit card, or even pay with cash, or do the Apple iPhone pay tap, whatever it is. It works the same way, seamlessly, flawlessly, and people are using it. It's secure, it's irrefutable, it's peer-to-peer, all that stuff, reducing the chance of double spend. It's more secure than the institutionalized banks that these goofballs run. Most people are using some form of digital payment, whether they know it or not. But the thing is, these guys don't like it because they can't control it. It's not in their sphere of influence directly. They don't have the ability to contain it. And that's why I believe these guys are panicking. They're scared. They don't like the competition. There's already stories and news coming out about them being threatened. The brick and mortar banks being essentially made obsolete by the rise of the crypto world, challenging their brick and mortar or their existence as a whole. And you can see that. Anyone who's dabbled in it or exposed themselves to it, anyone who's used it on a daily basis, and I myself have on various different avenues and ventures and things here, just as a form of knowledge gathering and experience and exploration into it. I've seen that, yeah, it does. It works better than their stuff. It does. It's more advanced, definitely more advanced. But these guys don't like it. Again, a lot of it has to do with taxes. Notice how Dimon's, this is, again, he's representing an institution that was convicted of spoofing metals prices, dishonest practices with gold and silver. David Crumry, thank you, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. I see it there on the screen, and I appreciate your support of the channel, my friend. Thank you. Now, anytime a banker is sitting there testifying, telling them that if I was the government, I'd close it down. No compromise, no middle ground, no gray area, just black and white, make it illegal, shut it down. Shut it down. We got to shut it down. You need to question it. I want you to ask yourself what's going on. Why is that? Why are the biggest central bankers in the government working in cahoots to shut it down? Just please, just for a moment, just entertain the question. All right? This isn't fourth dimensional chess. They're not doing this and preaching this at the same time trying to get you to adopt it. No, they want their own. They want their own central bank digital currency, probably, likely, very likely, that they can control, that they can manipulate, that they can instantly expand the money supply of with the boom, tap of a keyboard. They don't like the ability of you and others to escape their grasp. It's why they hate gold. It's why they're a common enemy. Remember I told you gold's the original Bitcoin. It's the OG. It's the original liquidity anchor, and it still is. It's the best. It's the ultimate extinguisher of debt. Even, I believe this, even all Bitcoin transactions in the future, if you were to go 1,000 years from now, if that even existed, even 100 years from now, all transactions and all economics ultimately flow through and settle on and in gold, in my opinion. That's how it ultimately will end up. At some point, that's how it's going to shake out. I don't, whatever. That's my assessment of it. Point is, they hate it. They hate gold too, and that's why they banned gold in this country for a long time. Think of that. Gold versus Bitcoin. They've only ever banned successfully gold. They banned it. If you've been on this channel for any length of time and you know the story and the history of gold in the United States alone, and what took place there, it's been seized, it's been confiscated, the prices have been fixed, it's been manipulated, it's been loaded on trains, it's been shoveled away into vaults, it's been secretly and darkly held, its numbers manipulated, its ounce count, its tonnage counts manipulated. There's a lot of weird, shady behavior with gold and a lot of government involvement. Now, why is that? And now it's because it threatens them, right? Because I've taught you for years, we've talked about this. You can hide your wealth in it. It's dynastic wealth preservation over time. They can't manipulate it. Once you lock your fiat, your trash, your leper currency, your monopoly notes, your empty government promises, riddled with STDs and cocaine, that garbage paper, that species that is feces, because species is that it's the worst. The paper, it's the rotting fiat. We hate it so much. But once you convert it, once you sell your fiat for metal, and you've escaped their grasp, they no longer have the ability to manipulate you. They can't inflate that currency supply and then rob your wealth because you're holding gold. And we all know what a gold chart looks like over time as they rob people, as they inflate the currency, as they debase and devalue the dollar. Gold just keeps moving up constantly, uncontrollably, not at the pace or the velocity we would expect, because they do try to put all of their energy and effort and power into it. But look, gold breached 2,000 recently, and I don't know if they're going to have the ability to punch it underneath it. It's a psychological number. They don't like that it did this. I can guarantee you they're having meetings about it. I can guarantee you it's a topic of conversation. They see the headlines. They see the peasants discussing it. They see the rabble. They see it in the streets. Nothing has changed. This is like an ancient empire, only in modern times. The people are getting uppity, and they see that gold has risen. It's exposing the lies. It's revealing the truth. The dollar is weakening. Fiats are weakening. Faith in the system is weakening. People are turning to gold. Institutions are turning to gold. Wealthy are turning to gold. People are vaulting it, buying it, hoarding it. There's very little of it. And the amount and the supply of it is dwindling constantly. All the easily available gold has been consumed. And they hate this. They hate gold. They've attacked it. I've spent a decade on this channel showing you how much they attack gold, how much they hate it. I mean, it's within their entire being, their DNA. They hate it. They're hating Bitcoin too. I don't know if they hate it as much. I don't think they hate it as much as gold. I wouldn't be surprised if you asked Jamie Dimon if he thought they could ban gold. He would probably support that. He would probably support the banning of precious metals and cryptos from people. You could only invest in his stuff. You can only make him wealthy. You can only buy what he tells you you can buy. He's an enemy of the people. He's an enemy of your freedom. Truly, he truly is. Sorry, I'm taking a sip of my tea while I take a breather here. It's funny because his bank, it even says it right here, is heavily involved in blockchain, enabling technology for the $1.6 trillion industry. So yeah, he wants it banned. You know who else wants it banned? Where is it? I got a picture somewhere up here of her. Where? Come on, let me find it for you guys. I know I got it somewhere up here. I thought I did. Where did it go? I had one of what's her name? Warren, Elizabeth Warren. She wants it gone too. She does not like it. Elizabeth Warren. I had it anyways. She told Congress it needs to be banned too. She's up there. Same thing, speaking against it. Doesn't like it. Doesn't want it around. So we got Elizabeth Warren, enemy of Bitcoin and cryptos. You've got Jamie Dimon now. Meanwhile, simultaneously at the same time, gold breaking records, right? Gold's never been this expensive. Now, I know inflation adjusted. We talked about that in the last video. You don't have to remind me. I knew that. You knew that. That's an accepted fact of reality. Look, inflation adjusted, it's just not there yet. I get it. I get it. Will it be? I believe so. I believe it will. I believe eventually we're going to see the inflation adjusted value of gold reveal itself again. It'll be back above, it'll be above 3,000 somewhere. And likely, let's put it this way. Gold's going to reach and break whatever that inflation-adjusted number is. I've seen everything from 2,900 and change to 3,300 and something. So let's just call it 3,150. Can we find ourselves somewhere in the middle? Let's say 3,150. Gold will hit 3,150. That's $3,150 before it ever sees 1,500 again, even. It'll see 3,150 before it sees 1,500. It might see 3,150 before it ever even sees just a flat, even, perfect 2,000 again. I think it's closer to 3,150 than it is to 1,000. You're never going to see gold at $1,000 US again. Ever. Not in your lifetime, not in your child's lifetime. So just keep that in mind, all right? It's not going to happen. So when I say gold's a sure thing, what do I mean by that? Gold's a sure thing. Gold's a sure thing. How can you say anything's a sure thing? I'll tell you why. That's why. That's why gold's a sure thing. We could bring up charts about 10,000 years worth of human history. We could talk about the Lydians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, every empire in between from pole to pole, every hemisphere going back since the dawn of time. We could talk about that, the modern era, banking. We could talk about all that, right? Purchasing power, goods and services, all of these things. How much gold's held where and by whom, the behavior surrounding it with banks and institutions and governments. Yeah, gold's a sure thing. It is. Why do the central banks hold 19% of it? Huh? Some people still think it's money. It's not tradition. Don't let them lie to you. Okay, look, the people that tell you these things, Jamie Dimon, Benjamin Bernanke, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, all the name them, Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell, they're all part of the same cabal, the same evil club. Everything they tell you is a lie. They lied to you for the last couple of years about you know what and you know who and all the things in between. You know all this. I can't name certain things because they'll delete the videos. You have to understand, we're now being hunted by AI, all right? They've got T-1000 after me. He knocks on my door, and he doesn't say Sarah Connor. It's like, Junius Maltby. Junius, I'm looking for Junius Maltby. That's where we're at. The AI Terminator robot, Skynet. They're out looking for us. I can't say certain stuff because the Matrix bots and the AI, they're crawling these speeches and these languages. They flag the videos, they pull them, we get marked, they threaten to delete the channel, all that stuff. We've seen it happen, but time and time and time and time again. Point is, these people lie to you every single day. So you got to ask yourself, do you believe anything they say? When they talk about anything, when they predict things or make calls or try to calm the masses and tell you that they're working on this project or they're going to make this better. Oh, don't worry, we're addressing that issue. It's transitory. Lie. Masks work. Lie. The jab works. Lie. It's actually the opposite. I'm not going to go into detail. Everything they say is a lie. Every information and data point that they said about the war in the East, I have to say the Eastern Front, because if I even use the word for the nation, flag the video, flag the video, flag the video. He said that word, keywords. There's certain keywords I can't even say, which that should paint a picture for you. They don't even want us talking about certain issues, right? Truth is treason. Strictly, it truly is now. You can't, they're limiting our speech. We are being muzzled, censored. I can't even use certain keywords without my videos being flagged. It's obvious. You cannot say certain words. You can't talk about certain things. Now, everything that we predicted about everything you know of, whether it's the Eastern Front War, whether it's the situation in the Middle East currently, all of the common actors, all the agents of the state, and all the common characters are there. The military-industrial complex, the war machines, Wall Street, the politicians, interest-free loans, hundreds of billions of dollars in defense spending. Meanwhile, people in America are starving to death, literally, staggering the streets, standard of living is dwindling, borders completely open. Hundreds of thousands of military-aged combatant males are pouring over the border daily. Empire's in a state of absolute decline. The infrastructure is crumbling. There is no hope. I mean, you've seen it time and we've talked about this. If you're the Balkanization, we've talked about that. Oh, and by the way, real quick, let me interject that because it reminds me of some old videos we've done in the historic past on the channel. Channel members, those of you with the coin after your name, I wanted to let you know again. I should have reminded you this earlier, but I forgot. You now have access to all the old videos. They're all channel members only. Look, I got to do something for them. They're such good, supportive people of this channel. So let me interject a little break, a little Junius Maltby commercial, if you will. I'm allowed that. It's right. Come on, give me the break. I got to be able to have Junius Maltby commercials every now and then. Every other channel out there does that, right? The little selling points of like trying to get you to get more involved with the channel. Look, channel members now have access to channel member only videos, and there's hundreds of them. There's probably 500 videos for channel members only. They're in the archives, in the footage, but if you're a channel member, you're the only ones that can see them. They're there. So check them out. They're in there. If you want to go catch up and dig through the past and look up topics that we've talked about, revisit old historical points and even market prices on gold, where we talk when it's like 12, 1300, we're talking about where it might go after that. All kinds of different issues. So just check those out if you could, if you want to. Unfortunately, there is no way to share that with those of you on Patreon. But listen, the cheapest channel membership I think is 99 cents a month. So it's 99 cents a month to be a channel member, and you'll be able to access all those old videos. So again, back to gold being a sure thing. I can say that. If they can say that it's not, if the ignorant bears, remember this, we talked about this week, if the bears can continue to say gold's not good, and if the bears can continue to say it's going down, and it never has, it never will, they're never right, they never ever even come close. Remember, they never come close to being even remotely accurate. The bearish position on gold has been the worst position, the biggest failure, the most inaccurate assessment of any asset class on the planet that there has ever been. Every single person who has ever held a bearish position in the last 30 years on gold, well, I can't say certain things of what they should do because then they would ban my video. It would be harsh and extreme speech. But, essentially they should neck themselves. Do whatever. Just disengage. Leave the conversation. You're not reputable. You're not reliable. It's ignorant at this point. It's just stupid. We don't understand. I don't get it. Why is it that they have to be the way they are when they've been so wrong so often? It's the only consistency you can expect from them is them being wrong. I would have a lot more respect if they would finally admit it or try to pay attention and see the light somehow on that The fact that gold is not going down. It's not going to retreat. It's not going back to $750. Remember, these are the arguments we had back then. When gold was 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 1600, all the way up through that range, the whole time it was doing that, we were having to share airspace and engage with individuals who thought gold was destined for a $600 to $750 range again, some even calling it to go back to 300. Now, how can they have any reputation whatsoever out there? Any person who's bearish on gold is strictly and absolutely blatantly ignorant. They have no idea or concept, and they cannot be trusted on any further assessments of the economy, of currencies, on the direction of things. They should go find something else to do. Go take up go make noise somewhere else, all right? I don't know, go yell at the sky on an overpass somewhere with a cardboard sign. I don't know, do something else. Go push a shopping cart down I-5. Go collect cans and recycle them. Get out of my face. I don't want to engage with you. All right. Gold price has never been this expensive, other than, of course, the inflation all-time high, which I think it might. Does it mention it in here? I thought in this article it might have mentioned the inflation adjustment. Geopolitical risk. Yes, that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons, but it's not the only reason. Gold price hits $2,100 for a record high. Analysts don't expect it to stop there. Spot gold rose to $2,100, but it did retreat. I mean, it had to. Come on now. I mean, there was obviously a chance it could go both ways, but these guys crush it. They crush it. They don't let gold, they don't want it to go any higher. I did see this. Let me see if I've got it pulled up. I think I do. Let me find it for you real quick here. Where was it? It was the amount of contracts that they actually sold. Did you guys see that? I think, was it 400 tons of silver? Let me find it for you real quick. Let me find this for you if I can. I'm pulling it up as we speak. It was sent to me by an oil buddy, big friend of mine, on how many contracts in metals when they had to crush it the other day, because they crushed it. It was, I believe, 400 tons. Come on, where is it? Any of you guys see it? Do you guys know what I'm talking about out there? Okay. CNBC was talking. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay. Zero Hedge put it out. This was just the other day. I think it was 12/4. So December 4th, a friend of mine sent this to me. 400 tons of paper were dumped in under 2 hours. 200 million ounces of silver dumped in a similar time. So they crushed metals the other day. When metals got out of hand and got a little uppity, you saw it, I saw it, we saw the prices rising, we saw it, we were celebrating, it was good. It was good times, right? Good times here on the Junius Mopa channel. What did the paper boys do? Well, they sold metal that they didn't have in the form of paper for fiat, right? Created big sell orders, crushed it. You know who did it? You know who was probably responsible for it? Guys like this. The same guys that got convicted of spoofing. So as they're attacking Bitcoin verbally and probably engaging in some market manipulation of those prices, at the same exact time, they hammered metals down. I mean, where is this rated? Where are we at here? Can we see it? 5-day chart. Here's the 5-day. Look at that. Look at that 5-day chart. Look at that right there. That's them crushing it. They didn't like this. It got a little uppity. And at the same time, when all this took place, they dumped as many paper contracts as they can, according to the Zero Hedge article. What was it? 500 or 400 tons, 200 tons of, 400 tons worth of gold, 200 million ounces of silver. The numbers don't matter. A billion here, a million there, ton here, ton there, 100 tons, 200 tons, 400 trillion, a billion, a zillion, a gorgazillion. The point is these guys dump shit they don't have. They manipulate the prices. They're trying to keep the dollar propped up. Same thing as in Brownstown, 1999, Bank of England, selling all of its gold, driving the price down to strengthen the dollar. We saw gold at $256 back then. Any of you old enough to buy gold back then? I was. I worked for my dad back then in construction. Yeah. Back then, you could buy gold for $15 over spot. buy a gold eagle for $260, and with the change left over, you could buy a couple of tenths and stuff them in a slip and walk out the door, unmolested. Yeah, that used to happen, man. Different times, different world. Different world. Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, I don't think we're going back to 2000, ladies and gentlemen. Might bounce close, might get near it, but you know what? A lot of buying pressure. People are done with it. People have seen it. They know what's going on. And let's look at some fundamentals here. You want to take a journey down the fundamental screenshots I got here? I got some friend of mine sent me these. We'll take a look here. I got some good ones pulled up for you. These are just little motivational pics, little motivational images to kind of illustrate for you, like a children's story. You know, if I can't use words, we'll use these images. Can you see this image here on the screen? I'll read the top part to you. This is from the Stig. He's, I guess it might have been a Twitter. I don't have Twitter anymore, but a friend of mine does, and he sent me this. He goes, Basel III has forced banks to disclose their precious metals derivatives exposure, which explains the chart below. All the fraudulent paper manipulation is public for all to see. The house of cards is set to tumble. All manipulation ends eventually, and thanks for the subsidies, J.P. Morgan. Thanks for the subsidies, Jamie Dimon. Notional amounts of precious metals derivatives at insured U.S. commercial banks and savings associations. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Precious metals, orange, less than a year. Precious metals, 1 to 5 years in blue. These are the notional amounts of precious metals derivatives at U.S. commercial banks through March 31st, 2022. This is in billions, so we're looking at 500 billion up here in 2022. So the Basel III, I guess, forced banks to disclose their precious metals derivatives exposure. Again, they don't have it. It doesn't exist. This could be, yeah. Let's continue on. Here's another one for you. Q3 2022 was a record high for central bank gold purchases. So as they're getting all this fiat, all this mass expansion of the money supply, all this government subsidy, all this printed fiat, central banks haven't bought this much gold since 1967. Gobbling it up. Remember, for the last couple of decades, the central banks turned into net buyers of gold. They began to consume and gobble up gold. Now they tell you not to. They try to talk despairingly about it. They hate it. Jamie Dimon would prefer the government straight up probably banned gold. He doesn't want you to have gold. He wants you to give him your servitude. Serve him, serve the bank, serve the state. But it looks like hundreds of tons are purchased. 400 tons in just 2022, Q3. You add that up, looks like 2022, just in the first and second quarter, we're looking at 175 plus 350, 400 tons is 500, almost 600 tons. I'll bet you they bought 600 tons almost that year in gold. Yeah, can you imagine when they lose control over this? That's the thing. It'll happen that quick. Snap your fingers. When they lose control, when the paper markets for gold are absolutely, when they pop, when it's destroyed. You remember when the video opened, right? Thanks, give me the gold. These guys know. They don't have it. They don't have it physically. That's a fact. They admit that. The COMEX will admit that. Metal prices, when they find their true valuation in fiat, are going to be staggeringly high. Staggeringly. Historic. A sure thing. Irrefutable. Oh, here's a chart for you. Can you make this one better? Can I get a dollar bull or somebody out there? Can somebody please justify this for me? Can you tell me it's going to be okay? Can you sincerely look at me and articulate how everything's going to be all right? Please. This is U.S. national debt, 1900 to 2022. Okay? Remember, I've told you many times, it did not reach even $1 trillion, which is way down here. There's $1 trillion. It's about 1983 or 4, somewhere. I think 1983. So the nation was built. Every road, every bridge, every major dam and infrastructural feat, the interstates, major wars, all of these things, everything was accomplished up until 1983 for less than $1 trillion. Now, how is it in my lifetime we can go from 1983 to over $33 trillion? Do you see the parabolic rise here, my friends? Do you see how impossible this is to curb, to reverse? Can you see how stupid one must be to be anti-gold, to be a gold bear? I can honestly tell you I don't have any respect for them. When you look at history, when you look at the facts that are presented before you, when you look at the numbers, when you look at reality, how could anybody not see where this is going and what's coming and what's true? You would think there would be an absolute stampede for metals right now. I can't believe they're still available. I got to be honest with you. If there's one bit of evidence that shows me how absolutely stupid Americans are, it's the fact that precious metals are even still available. The fact that you can get silver still, the fact that you can go online right now and buy a 10-ounce bar of silver for not that much over spot on eBay or on any one of the precious metal sites. The fact that some of these sites have hundreds of ounces of gold in inventory. I can't say thousands because I don't think a lot of them have thousands of ounces. Believe it or not, it's not that high. There's certain individuals that could clear out every ounce of gold at JM Bullion right now. SD Bullion right now. They could clean them out. If the wealthy woke up to this, the wealthy, high-functioning zombies, some of the retired boomers with 401ks and 457s and pensions and such, it would not take a long time. There really should not be very much gold or silver on the retail market available. It should be drying up already. The panic should already be in place, but it's not. These people are asleep. They are not awake. They do not know what's coming. They don't have a clue. And by the time they wake up, by the time they do see it, it'll be far too late. They're not going to be able to, you ever seen the videos or the images of a very crowded building during a fire and everyone's jammed up into the exits, just stacked up like cordwood, faces turning purple, one on top of the other, just tight, perfectly mashed in there. That's what it'll be like. They're all going to rush for the exits at the same time, and maybe a couple squirt out, but the rest of them are going to be jammed up in there. No one's getting out of this. They're not getting out of this. They're not going to be able to convert their wealth. They're not going to be able to sell their fiat and convert it into metal. You're not going to be able to buy metal with fiat. The exits are going to be blocked. Bruno, a good friend of the channel. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Thank you, my friend. This is your first super on a live stream. Celebrate that, ladies and gentlemen. Tell everyone, round of applause and a huge thank you for the generosity and the kindness of Bruno A. Thank you, my friend, for this super chat, for supporting this channel, supporting the message, being a part of it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Huge shout out to Bruno A. Thank you for supporting the Junie Small P channel. Obviously, you guys in the chat, I know there's probably 145 of you, right? 145 concurrent viewers. I think currently there's 119, so we never get that big. Oh, there's 145 concurrent viewers right now. That's good. That's not a lot, though. There's not a whole lot of people that know what's coming or see this or hear the message. How many people have these conversations? Not very many. Not very many. Not very many. They don't see it. To them, it's not coming. It's not possible. Back to what we've talked about in the past, normalcy bias. They've never experienced it, thus it can never happen. Thus, there's no plan for it. There's no it's not even in their brain. They don't have a file with that message on it, with that idea. They've never thought through it. They've never planned it. To even begin to confront these realities threatens their very well-being, their entire existence. It also confronts one with the harshness of having to make plans or come up with thoughts of a potential reality or a timeline that is very uncomfortable to consider. It's difficult to consider what this might look like in the future. It's uncomfortable. It then makes you get forces one to make different decisions. Where you're going to live, where you're going to retire, what your priorities are going to be, how you're going to spend some of your money. Do you take that cruise? Do you buy some agricultural land? You buy a piece of farming equipment? You buy some firearms? Do you move? Do you relocate to a different region that might be safer, less urban, less congested? 2 fuel tanks away from an urban center, 40 miles from any population density. You want to be a good full ruck at least away from a military combatant age males. You don't want them to be able to run to your house with all their gear and do what they want to do. And you need to be able to defend yourself. But even just on an economic discussion, you would think these people could see what's coming. But they don't. Not a clue. Not a single clue. These are the bank failures in the United States. Really starting to add up. These are bank failures amongst the FDIC-covered banks, not investment banks. And remember, we had some of the biggest bank failures in history in just recent times. The big stack up you see in 2008 right there. Yeah, a lot of little banks failed. Here and there, like bubbles popping. 4 billion, 300 billion, 32 billion, 25 billion here, 1 billion there, 2.2 billion, 1 billion. They add up 2.2, 2.21, 1 billion, 1 billion. A lot of little ones, right? And then you come up to 2022. Remember Silicon Valley Bank, all that exposure to FTX and Signature Bank, First Republic Bank. We had 229 billion, 209 billion, 110 billion. Massive, massive bank failures out of nowhere. Boom, back to back, one after the other. See that? Pretty big, pretty massive, pretty large amount of bank failures suddenly. Didn't get a lot of attention either. They really swept that one up quick. They worked quickly to contain that. Didn't they? I don't know if it was a cover-up. I don't know what they did. But they got it covered up somehow. But is it really? Because time's still ticking by. We're still on this timeline. We're still. The ride never ends, man. The ride never ends. It doesn't. Doesn't end. It's still moving, man. Tomorrow's another day. Reality's still happening. The economy's still moving. It's going to unfold as it should. It's going to declare. It's going in the right. It's going to go where it's going to. There's an inevitable destination. The question is, what destination is it? It's a one-way track. And I think you and I have a pretty good understanding, pretty good idea where that is. Now, you're going to listen to guys like myself, Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, the writers for Lou Rockwell, the guys that we read, the information that we try to pass on here, and all the other ones out there. Are you going to listen to guys like Jamie Dimon, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, the news cycle? Who are you going to listen to? Where do you think it's going to go? You going to listen to the people that tried to sell you a mask and sell you a needle? Are you going to listen to the people that said, hey, I don't think this is going to work out too well. I think you should make some preparations. Or you're going to listen to those people, the bankers, that say everything's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. We got this. We're going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, all right? Be concerned. Be concerned. Here's another one. This is why gold's a sure thing. And in my opinion, that assessment is irrefutable. I have yet to see any logical information that points to the contrary. And I'm a highly critical individual. There is not a single data point, not a single piece of information that causes me to question the direction of gold in the future. Not one. It cannot be challenged. I haven't seen it yet. I'm all ears, guy. I'm right here. Hit me with it. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Just keep going. Gold performance. When it comes to investing, spreading risk could help to avoid overexposure to any one particular asset class. Of course, this is their little happy-feely like insert for the boomers, right? Many experts, including the World Gold Council, suggest putting around 2 to 10% of your portfolio into a safe haven investment such as gold. Remember they raised that? We read it last year. They increased it. The chart below compares the annual percentage growth of gold over the last 20 years. This is the most important part. This is why in this chart and in the last 20 years, you'd want to be 100%. If it's a good egg or if it's a sure thing, why wouldn't you be in it? Diversification, in my opinion, is for suckers. You can have all your eggs in one basket. Just watch that basket. Know that basket. Even Warren Buffett knew that. He didn't like gold, but he said that exact phrase. That was his quote. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. If it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea. That's why diversification is not that great sometimes. Why would you diversify into something shitty just to be, quote, diversified? No. If anything, if I'm looking at this chart, all I want on that chart is the biggest bar. I want the one with the biggest growth, and that's gold. The chart below compares the annual percentage growth of gold over the past 20 years against cash, property, stocks, bonds, and gilts. Huh. Okay. So you're telling me gold kicked ass there, huh? Average annual percentage change over 20 years. And it's actually going up. As a matter of fact, right here, remember? Let's go back to that chart. Right here, here we go. Here is, it's 10.8 this year so far. Year's not over. But what they're doing is they're adding up all these numbers here and then dividing it by the number of years, and then you get the average of the average gain in gold over time. And I've got other charts and I've pulled them up before, and it changes frequently, but it could easily be 10 or 11%. But most often we do see it around 10%. I've said that for years. Gold's averaging like 10 or 11% per year for long-term holders. And in my opinion, it's just getting started. It's only warmed up. Only warmed up. Yeah, Paul S. is a great point. Some people spend $2,000 on a Taylor Swift ticket. That experience is gone. They gave her the money. They went there to a crowded venue, got hearing damage, exposed themselves to who knows what, and it's gone. I would much rather have an ounce of gold than a Taylor Swift ticket. I'd prefer to never hear her name or read it again as long as I lived on this planet. Here we go. Here's another chart for you. All right. Any gold skeptics in the chat? Come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come on, raise your hand. Hate gold? Raise your hand. You're a gold bear? Raise your hand. Say something. Say something dumb so we can all laugh at you. No, I'm serious. Are there any gold bears here even? Any skeptics? Any haters of the yellow metal? I'm not seeing it. Come on. Any takers? Any takers? A global fiat money Ponzi scheme in numbers. This was an older chart, but I like it. All money in existence at this time was 40 trillion, 90 trillion broad money. Share of global debt per person, 38 grand. I think it's more than that now. Global household debt to income ratio, 132.7%. This is crazy. Look at the fiat currency stuff. We've talked about this quite a bit. Right over here on the left side. Right here. Average lifespan of global reserve currency is 90 years. Dollar as a global reserve currency is 78 years old. Average lifespan of a fiat is 27 years, about 30. Remember that? Dollar's dead. The dollar's days are numbered. It's not going to make it, bro. Not going to make it. All the money in existence, 40 trillion. Look at global debt, 300 trillion. Global GDP, 104 trillion. Check this out down here. Actual planetary wealth. I want you to pay attention to this. Think of how much metal you have. Think of it for a moment. All right? I'm going to pay attention to this now, my friends. The above ground gold per person is about 0.31 ounces. It's about a third of an ounce for all human beings on Earth. 0.31 ounces. You realize that? There's only enough gold. That means if you have an ounce of gold, If you're holding an ounce of gold in the palm of your hand, are you ready for this? You're holding the gold of 3 people. More than 3 people. Consider that. That's the wealth of all for 3 people on this entire planet. Above ground silver per person, according to this, is half an ounce. Isn't that crazy? Very close there. Isn't that an interesting fact? Pay attention to that. Pretty close, isn't it? If you're holding an ounce of silver, you're holding the wealth worth of silver for 2 people on the entire planet. The amount of farmland per person is 1.5 acres. The amount of forest per person is 1.2 acres. It's kind of shocking, actually. All paper markets, 2.2 to 4, it's about 2 to 4 quadrillion. Anyone that cannot pay debt, about 300 trillion. Commercial real estate, corporate bonds, loans. Equities and bank deposits, 200 trillion. Bank bail-ins, pension funds, healthcare supply chains, Social Security collapse, 120 trillion. Government bonds, paper currencies, 40 trillion to infinity. Risk of hyperinflation to backstop the system. Yeah, that's absolutely a risk. Commodities, non-monetary commodities owned outright. Land, debt-free farmland, forest, self-sufficient homesteads. Silver, 0.024 trillion. Gold, 6.5 trillion. Zero counterparty risk. Holdings must be kept outside the system. Any gold bears? Any silver bears? Back in 2022, so they would, in January, they probably talked about it earlier, but this is February 23. So the beginning of this year, the very beginning of this year, JP Morgan Research did some stuff. They were talking about this. Hey, currency volatility. Will a strong U.S. dollar return? They wrote a couple page paper on it. Looking at other currencies, wondering if the dollar's strength will return. It's funny how they'd ask the question. Some questions don't need to be asked because the answer is clear. No, it won't. No, a strong dollar will not return. We're moving into a multipolar world. We're moving towards de-dollarization. Do you want me to answer it for you, JP Morgan? Do you want to hire me as a consultant? I mean, how can you pay this guy right here and not know the answer to this question? No, JP Morgan. A strong dollar will not return. And strong on whose terms? Strong in which way? In how much gold it can buy? In how much oil it can buy? In how much wheat it can buy? In the number of nations that are willing to take it as payment? No. No. Dollar hegemony's over. Dollar strength is over. The unipolar world is over. We are moving into a new age, an age of a weaker dollar. And your friends have destroyed the dollar. The dollar is being eroded as we speak. It is debased, it is devalued. It is the leper with the most fingers left. Nobody wants it. I don't want it. The friends in the chat don't want it. We're going to stack metal. We're going to hide from you. We are going to withdraw from your system. We're going to no longer consent to your economic authority, to your overreach, to your monopoly. We're not going to play by your rules anymore. We're not going to play your game. All right? We're going to flip the board over, throw the pieces on the floor, and walk away. It's a stupid game, and nobody here wants to play it anymore. We're going to use sound money. Covert means whatever's necessary to hide from you, to escape you. Crumble. Burn to the ground and see if we care. We don't. You can call us whatever names you want. Those little labels don't stick anymore. Nobody takes them seriously. Insult us. Call us radical or whatever other, you guys know them. What are the words they use for us? Far right, extremists, anarcho-capitalists. There's so many little words and labels they try to hurl at us. Anti this and anti that. Look, I don't care what you call me, man. I don't value your opinion. Your assessment holds no weight. It doesn't move me. It doesn't shake me. Nothing in my life is attached to you, and I don't care. I am apathetic to your assessment of me. I'm apathetic to your opinion on any matter. I'm invincible to you. I might as well be bulletproof from you. I don't care about J.P. Morgan. I don't care about Goldman Sachs. I don't care about the Treasury or the Fed. Their relationship, their incestual bonds with one another, it's disgusting. They're disgusting people. I have no respect for them whatsoever. I despise them. And I know that every time you and I acquire precious metals, it weakens their reach a little bit more. It whittles away at their strength and their influence. It hurts them, it harms them. Almost like a needle into the eyes of a small, raggedy voodoo doll. Every single time you buy metal, it harms them. That's the way it is. It's the way it is. All right, my friends. Hopefully I turned up the volume. You can hear it. If the volume doesn't work on your end, crank it up. You can try to crank it up on your guys'. And if it's not, I can't yell today. I'm just too tired. Been working a lot lately. I have been working a lot lately, yes. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's all become so tiresome. All right, turn up your volume on your guys' end if you can. Sorry about that if it was a little low on this end, but I'll work on it better for next time. Yeah. All right. Well, my friends, good to hear from all of you. Thanks for tuning in. And again, huge, tremendous shout out to Bruno A. Thank you for the super chat, my good friend of the channel. Thank you. Thank you very much. To all of you who support this channel through Patreon, through super chats, through channel memberships, contributing to myself and Mrs. Maltby and this channel's existence, everything about it. I appreciate you, and I thank you. Have a good rest of your evening, rest of your week. We'll call this the end for tonight. And remember, yes, as Cosmo just said in the chat, the raid never ends. Raid. Buy metal. Harm them. In buying metal, you harm their system. You remove yourself. You remove your wealth from their system. So do so boldly. Have a good rest of your night. Take care.